All right, Nicole, take it away.
Thank you so much, Darby. And thanks to Stephanie as well for, getting in touch with me about this and letting me share my experiences with you all. So let me share my screen. So hi, everybody. So my name is Nicole Marconi, and I am going to be talking about library cooking classes, hosting library cooking classes, both in person and virtually. And if you guys have questions, please throw them in the chat and we can definitely talk about them after. But I'm going to be going over a lot of information, so I'm sure there'll be questions at the end. So let's get started, shall we? So I am the collections manager at the Hoboken Public Library currently. So the way that I got started with doing cooking programs here was we were looking to have something to sort of fill the adult void of like doing cooking classes and trying to see if there was something we could do to bring people back after, things starting opening up again in the library. So the end of like 2021, beginning of 2022. And I was interested, and as someone who has always loved baking and has loved, more recently started to love cooking, I thought it would be interesting to try to do something in the library, and everybody in our library was on board for me to try. So I have done programs that are both in person and online. I have done a mixture, I've done hybrid, I've done, all of it. So it's been an interesting experience doing that. We have a variety of venues that we can do our programs in. So we have a kitchen, like an actual kitchen in one of our annexes. So we can do like real cooking in there. And then we also have a couple of programming rooms in our basement that we have available to us. So I started doing online tutorials, like online cooking tutorials without anybody in person in the beginning of 2022. And then I started doing hybrid versions of having it stream virtually on YouTube live, and then also doing it in person with an audience in February 2023. If anyone wants to look on YouTube, I have a playlist on the Hoboken Library webpage of past cooking tutorials that I've done, and I'll share that with you guys at the end. I will also share these slides at the end of the presentation afterwards, so you guys can have that as well. So cooking online and in person. So there's advantages to both having people in person and not having them in person. So the advantage of having people in person is that it's great to have people to interact with, and it's great to have taste testers. So it's a little strange sometimes just talking to yourself and then saying, hey, this is amazing, like you should be here to try this, and like working only with yourself. The disadvantage of having a cooking program in person, or like a challenge that I've encountered, is that it takes a lot more planning and time. For me, it takes a lot more planning across my different departments, making sure no one else wants to use the room, supplies that I need, having to go out and buy all the supplies, where to keep them, if it's things that need to be refrigerated or, put in a freezer, like where do I put those things? And then the general setup and cleanup, like I don't have anybody helping me, it's just me. So those are things that I have to think about when planning any of my cooking programs, and also how many people are going to be involved. Like, do I put a cap on the program? Do I not put a cap on the program? Because as people who have also done any kind of program know, sometimes it is, 20 people will sign up and then no one will show up. And that has happened to me as well, where I've had, 20 people sign up, and then I've had one person show up who wasn't even technically signed up for the program. They just happened to wander in at the right time. So it's an interesting challenge in that way. So I've definitely made a lot of mistakes, and I've definitely learned a lot of things from doing these programs, both virtually and in person. One of the mistakes I've made is not rehearsing beforehand, aka not trying the recipe beforehand, and then having it sort of, not work out in the moment when I've been trying to do it. That's a mistake. That's a huge mistake, not trying the recipe before. So I've definitely had to, pivot from that and be like, well, this is live cooking. Like, this is a live recipe. Like, it's like live theater. It happens. And sometimes you just have to pivot on the spot. Another thing I've done was try to make something super complicated on camera and in front of people. And sometimes it just does not work, because you've got 17 million ingredients, you've got 17 steps, and then inevitably you're trying to do it and talk and put it in the oven, and then also pull out the one you made before as if like it was already made, like the TV people do. So it can be a little complicated. So for me, I've definitely in the last few tutorials tried to like pare down and make it a little bit simpler for myself, just so I'm not like trying to do 16 steps all in my head. things I've learned also is to always make sure, again, make sure to try the recipe beforehand and make sure you're familiar with your tech. And that's ironic considering my camera just turned off, but make sure that you're familiar with, if you're using your iPhone or your iPad or, your laptop. I've definitely done streaming through all of those different things. And, they all have their different challenges. Like, do you need a tripod? Do you need someone to hold the camera? Do you need someone to help you with the audio? Do you need someone to help you with the script? Like, I've had people help me sometimes writing things down and saying, like, this doesn't make sense to me, like this isn't clear. So that kind of thing. And then making sure you double check everything. I've definitely had moments where I've forgotten an ingredient and then had to run to the store. Thankfully, there's one right down the street from my library, so it wasn't a problem, but that's never fun to, realize you forgot flour, half an hour before your program starts and then have to run down to the grocery store. So So when it comes to planning my programs, there are a lot of different resources that I use. So I'm lucky enough to be in the Buckles Consortium. I use the Buckles catalog a lot. Any recipe books or cookbooks I order, usually arrive within a day or two after ordering them, which is great. I also think about different holidays like Heritage Months that are coming up when planning, like next, not next month, May is AAPI month. So like, can I do something for AAPI month, to make more representation happen? Is there something in particular that I want to make, like that I want to try out for myself? That happened actually when I was thinking about Lunar New Year 2 years ago. I was like, oh, I haven't made scallion pancakes, but I love scallion pancakes. Like, that would actually be great. And the timing was good because it was right around Lunar New Year time. So it kind of fit. And then the other thing is the venue I'll be cooking. So sometimes we do it, I'll do it in the small programming room, which is one of our rooms downstairs, like I said, or will I do it outside? Which leads me into our next thing about a mobile kitchen that we also have available at my library. In addition to the kitchen that you see in the picture here, we also have a mobile kitchen as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So something else I've also explored in the last 6 months, I've done it about 3 or 4 times now, is a takeaway kit for cooking. So the takeaway kits are nice because the patrons can come and pick it up at any time. Like if they missed the actual tutorial itself, they can come, and pick it up and then make it at home. So as you can see, they have all the ingredients, like baking soda, sugar, and then I also, measure it out for them. So they don't have to do any measuring. It's, almost like a HelloFresh sort of situation where you just have everything already measured out and you just make it, you put it together and it's done. They have the recipe in there. They have the list of ingredients in there and everything. So it has a lot of advantages where, you can do it on your own time and you have everything available to you. The disadvantages is that I can't really use anything perishable. So I don't want to put like cheese in there because then I have nowhere to put it, I have nowhere to store it for them. And if they never show up, then like what happens to the cheese? People have definitely done multiple registrations either on purpose or by accident. So sometimes I'll have people who are like, let me register for like 5 spots and they really only want 1 kit. So then it makes people not available, they can't register because I close the registration at like 10 people. Then it's like, okay, well, 5, like 1 person registered for 5 slots and now it looks like there's 5 people when there's really only 1. And then what do I do with extra ingredients? If I bought like 2 bags of flour and now I only used 1, like what do I do with the extra ingredients? So sometimes there's an issue there. And it's definitely more money. So on average a month, I don't use probably more than like $50 for my cooking tutorials in person. But if I'm doing a takeaway kit, it definitely makes the budget every month go up and up and up depending on the ingredients. So there's definitely advantages and disadvantages to that. So now let me talk about the mobile kitchen. So I'm not sure if anybody else was at ALA 2 years ago, but they had a demo with this company called Edible EDU, and they have this amazing thing called a mobile kitchen. So the mobile kitchen is a unit that has everything in it that you need. It has a sink, it has a burner. When you buy it, you get all these things like cutting boards, knives, all these extra cooking things that you can use. It's really aimed towards kids, but it's nice because it packs up and goes anywhere. So at the demo, they were saying it can fit into the back of a van, like a regular like minivan, which is great. So it can go anywhere. And it's definitely interactive. So I've had people come up and they can, as you can see, the wings fold out to make counter space, and people can come and they can, cut with you. They can mix things with you. If there's kids, they can stand on a chair and like, go up to the counter and, do things with you, which is great. There is a couple of disadvantages. It is a little pricey. And then where do you store it in the end? We fortunately have space where we can store it in our basement, but I know some libraries are very low on storage space. So the question is, where do you put it? And also, if you don't have an elevator in your building or something where it's easily convenient to get to, how do you do that? So, and then, there's only so many supplies that come with it. So you have to either buy your own, which again, if you don't have the budget for it, then that can be an issue. And then it's like, they give you about like 10, safety knives basically. So if you want more things, you gotta buy them. But it's definitely, for us, it's definitely been an advantage because we can move it to different rooms. We can move it outside. It's pretty cool and convenient on its own wheels. So these are just a few recipes that I've used that I really love and have been super successful for me. So there's a cookbook called Disney Villains, and it's got very fun Disney themed recipes in it. And one of them is Poor Unfortunate Rolls, which are just cinnamon rolls basically, but they're called Poor Unfortunate Rolls. And then you can make purple frosting to go on top that looks like Ursula. Earl Grey truffles, that's something that's actually really, really easy. And it's also, these are Earl Grey truffles you can make with Earl Grey tea, but you can also customize it. And then the last one on here is if anyone else is a fan of Squid Games, it's the little candies that they have to cut out the shapes in that one episode with the challenge. I made those so you can do that at home, and it's very, very, very easy. I really like recipes that you can customize and that you can sort of have like a base, and then you can also adjust if you want to make it more complicated or change it up a little bit to your own preference. So those are recipes that I really love. So those are just a few. All right, guys, that's me. So if anyone has any questions, I see a few popping up in the chat, but this is my contact information, and I'll also throw it in the chat if anyone wants to ask me questions after this. But thanks, I'm glad I got to share that with all of you. Thanks, guys. Stop sharing now.
Thank you so much, Nicole. There are some questions in the chat. Well, there's one question in the chat for you specifically about what kind of recipes you found that did not utilize perishables.
Got it. So definitely ingredients that like the one that was in the picture that I had in the presentation was a honey candy. So it only used honey and sugar and flour and a couple of other things. And then the only actual equipment I used to include in the kit was a candy thermometer. And then, yeah, sometimes I can be like, yes, you have to buy your own butter, or milk. But for the most part, I try to find things I'm like, yes, everything you need is in this kit, because I feel bad being like, yes, use your own. But it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah. So as Steph just put in the chat, now is a great time for the sharing part of the skill sharing. So if anyone has questions that they want to ask, you can feel free to unmute. You don't necessarily have to put it in the chat, although you can. Or if you've done cooking programs and you have advice or thoughts or recipes, anything that you want to share, feel free to unmute and let us know. And I see that Carissa says that you're concerned about liability for in-person programs, and do you have folks sign a waiver?
Yeah, so we use LibCal in Buckles at least. So in our program description, or I'm sorry, in my program description, I should say, I often put, or I will always put things like, please let me know if you have any allergies, just FYI, we're going to be cooking, with, if there's any nuts or anything, I make sure that people know that. And then when people come in person, because obviously people forget to come, it doesn't matter. But if, they come in person, I'm like, okay, just FYI, there's nuts in here. FYI, there's going to be using milk, not almond milk, just for people's allergies, if it's a gluten allergy or something. But people have been pretty good about letting me know in advance if they have an allergy or something, because sometimes they're like, oh no, I can't even be around that. So that's been pretty good.
Yeah, and Tom had a similar question about, do you have a waiver specifically for food allergies?
No, I have a few. I have a lot of quite a few like people who come regularly, so like they're pretty good about being like, hey, just like, if they want to, a lot of them ask like in, before, they're like, hey, what are you making next week or next month or whatever. So, and I'm more than happy to answer any of their questions. um so the kitchen, I see Robin asked about the kitchen. So the kitchen, I believe, costs $10,000. So again, it's not cheap. It's like definitely an investment. So I'm not the only one who uses it. Like our youth services team uses it as well. Like everybody in the library is obviously able to use it for cooking programs. We've done pasta programs. We've done cooking programs. The teens really like it because they're like, ooh, it's like, experimental cooking for them. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh, I was on mute. Robin says, what about any rules from the local health inspectors?
We do have people who are, certified in like food and safety handling. So like I definitely consult with them if I have any questions. But like so far, I haven't gotten anything from them that's like, no, like you need to do this, this, or this. So far, like everything's been fine. And I'm always making it clear to people like if they don't want to taste things or like if they don't want to touch things, they don't have to, and just making sure before anybody handles anything, they wash their hands. Like they come to the room and I'm immediately like, before you touch anything, like please wash your hands. Um, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, and I know there have been in other
Can you
like
give
cooking.
an
Oh, did somebody have something to share? Or
oh,
maybe.
I can wait.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what is your budget like for the take-home kits?
So I have like an overall budget for my programs, and then like whatever I use for, the takeaway kits comes out of that budget. So it was like I take typically, like this year I have like about $4,000 like for the whole year, like for my budget for, food, takeaway kits, like everything, including if I want to buy any equipment or anything like that. So, I have to figure out for my part like how much to use every month, or if I'm like I'm going to spend like $100 this month, like I might not spend as much next month, that kind of thing. So, and I also personally cap my programs
Mm-hmm.
at 10 people because I try to like but if people wander in the day of, I'm never like, oh my God, go away. Cause then, you just don't know if people are going to forget. Or if they, register or they didn't register and they're like, oh, this sounds interesting. I don't turn people away like on the day of. So,
Yeah. Okay. What kind of food gets the biggest draw?
a lot of the baking stuff does actually. And then a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's like theme is actually pretty
Theme
popular.
things.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
for when I did AAPI month last year, we did like dumplings, and then we did dumplings again in February for Lunar New Year. So like
Mm-hmm.
those are super popular, and also because there are like, even though they're like technically for, I read, I put it as like for adults, like a lot of kids and parents show up anyway, and I'm always like, yeah, like the kids really like it because they can like do something with their hands. And all the knives are like child safe. And I did a program on Monday
Mm-hmm.
that was Irish soda bread, and the kids had to just put like an X in the, in the bread, but that was like even enough to be like, it's interesting, like, oh, I'm using a knife, so like that was, fun for them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Do you get any like how much time do you get to prep off desk time?
I don't get a lot of time off task to prep, I'm not gonna lie. So I do some of it at home because I'm like, I just need to practice this recipe and I'll just do it at home. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so it's sometimes just
And
easier to do it at home.
shopping as well. Do you do it on your own time, the shopping?
Yeah, usually because I was like, it's just I don't have enough time during the week to do that as well. But it's not so bad. We have a grocery store so close, so it's okay. Yeah,
There was a,
sorry, I'm trying to look at the
that's
questions.
okay. There was a
Um,
question from Sandra about when you do the takeaway kits, do you also do a virtual tutorial?
yes. So if you, let me find the link actually while I'm saying this, but yes, I actually do a tutorial. I've been doing a tutorial for both, so I will share the link in a second. With you guys. Yeah, it just makes it a little bit easier for people if they see a link. Yeah, so when I have the takeaway kits, I do definitely do a virtual tutorial as well, just to show people. I've even done it in my own kitchen at home, just to say like, yes, this is something you can do even at home. Like, look how easy it is. I'm doing it in my kitchen. So that's fun. And yes, I do have an oven, Jennifer. We have an oven in our annex. And there's also with the mobile kitchen, there's an oven that comes with it that you can use. You just have to like plug it in and like put it, somewhere, but it's like detached from the mobile kitchen.
And I think like for a lot of folks who don't have kitchen setups with like ovens or stovetops and stuff, there are so many cool options now for like kitchen gadgets or for like ways to cook that don't necessarily require a full kitchen. I've done when I was a YA librarian, we did like waffle maker cooking. Because you can cook a lot of things in a waffle maker, you would be shocked. And they're fairly inexpensive to get a waffle maker. And so that's a fun one that you can do that doesn't require more than just a couple of outlets. Like air fryers now are so ubiquitous, and can do a lot of the things that you would normally do in an oven or on a stovetop. So I do think there are like ways to adapt it if a kitchen is not something that's going to be installed in your library anytime soon.
Yeah, 100%. And we actually, we have the advantage of we just started a library of things a couple months ago. So we've been adding stuff to it. And one of the things we're going to add is cake pans soon, and then also an ice cream maker and an air fryer. So people can use that as well. I made ice cream with the kids, like with kids and adults last summer, and it was a huge hit. People were surprised at how easy it is, and how fast it, comes out. So it's something nice. So
A lot of folks in the chat are sharing about their cooking programs that they've done. If anybody wants to unmute and tell us a little bit more about it or things you want to warn us against, that's totally fine too. And I do see there's another question too from Carissa. When you do a virtual or hybrid class, what's your video setup like? Do you just use a phone with an adjustable stand?
yeah, so when I do mine, I do a phone with a tripod on it, so it makes it easier to move around. In the past, I've done an iPad and someone's been holding it and moving around, with me as I make things, because sometimes it's easier to have a second person. But if I don't have somebody else, I'll put my phone on a tripod and just, do a live stream that way. Yeah, it's just easier to just sort of be hands free. And sometimes if I'm really ambitious, I'll do multiple takes and do multiple angles. But again, that's like a Food Network type level situation, which doesn't happen very often. So yeah, it can be varied.
And Jennifer says, are any libraries partnering with external organizations like Cooperative Extension to do joint programs? So if anybody is, who's here, is partnering with outside organizations, please unmute and tell us about it.
I also, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just mentioned that I worked for Edison Library before March. So yes, there are a lot of like external vendors and partners did the program at the library actually worked, but not yet the cooking program, unfortunately. And actually, I so appreciate today W. That's a really wonderful meetup talking about the cooking program, because we right now South Plainfield Library, we try to have this kind of a cooking program started in the library, and we're actually looking for more information, be very, very well prepared before we started. And so appreciate Nicole today. You shared a lot of information with the presentation, very informative. And actually, I so interesting with the part we mentioned about the mobile kitchen. Just wondering, does anyone or any library have mobile kitchen doing that program library? Especially, we're actually in the middle of a process looking for mobile kitchen called Charlie Card. If anybody heard that, any feedback or review or about that would be so helpful. I'm not quite sure if you guys use any mobile kitchen yet for doing program. quiet silence.
I haven't heard of them, but if you want to throw their name in the chat, maybe more people have heard of them. They're just not saying.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of them. I'd only seen the one at ALA 2 years ago. I hadn't even realized this was an option until I saw the demo, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I was like, why? I was like, this is amazing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I see if I could pull up the link about that. If
Yeah, that would be great.
yeah, bring up any like memory or reviews on that. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, because it's kind of like a not gonna seem scared. It's just feel like okay, I'll be ready for running like a cooking program. So today is a meetup. So I appreciate Nicole with all the information. Just feel like okay, we just need to have things ready and go for it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is to just like don't be afraid because I was so scared the first few times I did it that I was gonna screw up or set the kitchen on fire or whatever. Like it again, it's not for me personally, like it's not something that comes naturally to me to be on camera. I get really nervous and I really don't like talking in front of people, if anyone can believe that. But I really don't. So when I have to do it for this, it gets me a little nervous sometimes. But again, you just have to practice, and it's like kind of like walking and talking at the same time. And it's like doing this, you're like, I'm trying to do four things at the same time. But like ultimately it's about having fun and having fun with your patrons, and that's sort of why being in person is more fun in my opinion, because then they can interact with you as opposed to just talking to a camera and being like, okay, I'm done. And sometimes it's nice to just have people be like, this makes no sense to me, like, can you explain it again? So then you're like, oh, okay, and what I just said to you makes no sense, I have to rephrase. So
Yeah, I just should think in case people interesting. Yeah, I understand. I mean, most of the time it's like you just need to be brave to try. And look like Nicole, you're the first one to try everything, and so appreciate all those experience you shared today.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to share my experience. I mean, I don't have a big budget, and I don't see us getting a cat, or I've asked for induction, cooktop, but I don't see that happening even in the future. So basically, what I do run is like a no cook series, and it's things like making a salsa or an elote or mango fool, things that do not require a stove, and or certain beverages. And so I am limited in what I can do, but that limitation sort of, makes it really interesting and challenging. So I have to limit the number of ingredients. I need to limit how much money I spend. But also in terms of space, I just have the children's activity area, because that room has got a sink in it, and so it is in the beginning it felt like a limitation, but now it really is. To me, I take it as a challenge, um, and you know work with that. So I've been doing it for almost 2 years now. And when I started, I thought, oh, maybe this is not going to go too far, because there's only a limited number of things that you can do with no stove, or um, a cooktop. Um, but it's been going good so far. So
thanks. That was so great. Um, something I also used when I didn't have the mobile kitchen was the microwave. So I did microwave cups, microwave mugs, mug cakes for
right.
like a. So that was something that I was like, I'm just gonna borrow this microwave from the break room for my program. And then because that's something that most libraries have one way or
Have,
another.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so you can use that too. Like that's really popular.
Yes,
And
yes.
you know, I've seen.
Yes, I have used the microwave. I've used the toaster oven.
Yeah.
I have used somebody, one of the regular folks who attend wanted to offer their air fryer. So I will take them up at some point. So, yeah.
I was interested in Tanya said that they have worked with the food bank. Tanya, I don't know if you're able to expand on that. Did they actually do a cooking class or was it more just like nutrition information or?
Yeah, I can expand on that. So they actually do a cooking demo / education. So we used them for Hispanic Heritage Month and Black History Month. And for Hispanic Heritage Month, they have tasting Latin heritage program. And we book them and they come in, they talk a little bit about the ingredients, where they come from, the history of it, why they're used. And then they do a cooking demo with you. And then afterwards, everybody tastes the food. And then they give you a bag of food for you to cook it at home. And this is free. I can't stress it enough. We use them maybe 2 to 3 times a year for various programs, and like I said, it's free. They give everybody that attend a bag of food. And I also commented that we have reached out to a couple local restaurants in our area. Actually, for Black History Month, we reached out to a soul food restaurant to do a cooking class. And it was more than a demo. They gave everybody all the ingredients. They made it, everyone made the dish. We selected the dish that we wanted, and they brought in all the equipment. So we didn't have to really do anything but supply the people. So that turned out great. But I mean, a lot of these local restaurants, especially if they just started and they just opened, they're looking for that community partnership.
Thanks, Tanya. That is good. I saw Carissa from Collingswood said free. And that was Food Bank of South Jersey, right? So Collingswood, that's your hookup. Anybody else have, I see some talk of cookbook clubs too, which is cool.
We also had the Union County Food Bank come to our library, and they did like a cute like summer salad, and they bought all the ingredients with them, and they did a little demo, and then we did a little a taste taker thing, and they also gave out like a nutritional thing and with like different menu options. So that was fun, and that was also free.
I see Linda said they do a spice kit where they give a small sample of a spice with a QR code to a brief description and a recipe. Oh, that's kind of cool. Get people trying new stuff. ShopRite will do free cooking programs. Huh.
Yeah, I wrote, hi, I'm Linda. I'm from the Upper Saddle River Library. Our town's pretty obsessed with cooking different types of programs. I've tried them all. I have had chefs come in and do some programs, and it can get very elaborate. Like you said, you feel then you want to have a lot of people come, and sometimes they don't. You're talking about free programs. ShopRite comes in and will do a free program, and they'll do anything from at least, they'll do anything from talking about, we've had mind, boosting foods. They will also come in and do a demonstration, like around Thanksgiving. We had them do something of a recipe on don't use your oven, like do a recipe in an Instapot, a recipe in a slow cooker, and just again, like a salad type of recipe. But our most popular, I would say right now, is we do a cookbook club where we pick an author who has cookbooks and also things online, and people cook at home. I collect all the recipes ahead of time. It's like you said too, we do the setup. We make sure there's plates and forks and knives. Everybody does their cooking at home. They come in, and then, we already have the recipes all pre-done to avoid allergies. So you pick and choose what you want. Everybody samples. And then we really discuss what it was to do that recipe. Again, like you were saying too, this was good. I wouldn't do that. We say to that they have to follow the recipe directly. And was it easy? Was it not easy? And then the other thing we do is that's been popular is because again, it's free, is a grab and go spice kit where we do, I do maybe like 1.5 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons of a new different type of spice. And then inside is a linked, QR code link to our website that has recipes and what is good about the spice and, like how turmeric is so good for you. Try it. This is why, things like that. And people seem to like that. I don't know if it's because it's at the checkout counter and they can grab and go with it, or if they really love it, but people do come in asking for it. So that's what we've been doing for cooking.
That's awesome, Linda. That's great. You guys are all so inspiring. I want to like go try new things. I think that also, like Linda was saying, she tried all the different different types of cooking programs, but I think that it's interesting to figure out like sort of what the goal of it is, because I know that like for me, I'm like, is the goal to like, just demonstrate something, or is the goal to like give out samples, or is the goal to like have people leave and be like, oh, I learned something today. So for me, I'm usually trying to do all of them at the same time, which is a little much, but yeah, it's interesting to try to do new things for sure. I do like the spice kit idea as well. I might try to steal that too.
You can look on our Upper Saddle River website. I've got lots of links. This year we're doing, what did we just did like herbs de Provence was, because I don't know, thought blue,
Nice.
it was pretty, but this was simple. But some of them it's really, every time I do it, like we've done cocoa powder even, you'd be surprised, like the antioxidants in it, like things that are good for you, like you don't think about it. So turmeric, like I said, is big, cardamom is big, and again, but we only give about like a tablespoon and a half. I don't give the whole kit. I'm impressed that you're giving all the ingredients. We don't do that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I will say that. I mean, it's a lot of work on my part, because I'm doing the demo and also the kit, so it's a lot. But people seem to like it, so hopefully I'll be able to keep doing it. Budget allowing, as always.
Gabe's comment reminded me, and I'm gonna drop the link in the chat because, hold on, I'm scrolling up. Gabe said that they did, now I can't scroll up. The library used to participate in the thing with the local historical society to create a community cookbook and collect recipes. That reminds me that if you haven't heard, the League of Historical Societies of New Jersey has asked us to see if there are any libraries around the state that are willing to partner with them to sort of bring maker culture to historical societies, and cooking certainly fits within that that framework, right, of having people come and do something hands-on to learn a little bit about history. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat. If any of you who do cooking programs are interested in signing up to be part of the directory, it would just mean that you would basically be saying, yes, historical societies can reach out to us and like talk to us about how we do our programming, or even potentially do partnership programming if you want to. And it's a really good opportunity to sort of build a partnership with somebody in your community. So thank you, Gabe, for reminding me of that. And I'll drop the link to the form if anybody wants to fill it out. There's the form. Does anybody else have experiences you want to share or questions that you want to ask? It doesn't have to only be questions for Nicole, although she is so super knowledgeable, but of the whole group, or if there's anything that anybody wants to chime in about. We still have about 20 minutes left, so there's plenty of time to chat.
I'm chiming in one more time. Sorry, somebody did talk about summer barbecue. So far, we've had to do Old Bay seasoning 2 summers in a row because it was such a hit. So tidbit, if you guys want to kick off on this spice kit idea, Old Bay is something different up here. But some, people in Maryland are well aware of it, and there was a lot of fun, and it could be just as simple as putting it on popcorn. So that's just, and then I'm going to mute again.
That's okay, Linda. The point is for everyone to share. So we are happy to hear from you. I never thought about Old Bay on popcorn either, Steph, and I love Old Bay, so I'm gonna have to try that. It's great on French fries if you haven't tried that yet. Um, Anybody else? Has anybody had a cooking program disaster that they want to warn us about? Or something that you would recommend? I know, Nicole, you said not to do very complicated recipes. Is there anything you would say, definitely don't make this?
I haven't had anything I wouldn't make again, but for me, doing dumplings and talking at the same time was a little bit much. It was like a little bit too multi-step to try to like fold dumplings and talk and fill, and I definitely had to have like more, I was like, I need to involve somebody else next time because it's like a little bit too much. I think I wouldn't do arepas again, maybe, because that was also very complicated. But I was also doing that we have a yearly library festival that we do, and I was doing them outside and talking and doing this with my hand, so it ended up being a lot. I may not do that again. Like, they turned out very delicious, but it was like a lot to do at the same time. So
may I talk? I'm sorry, I came a little late, actually. I have so many programs, it vanished from my mind. I'm doing for years now virtual cooking classes, which is super, super success. And I pick one session a month virtually, and we pick the seasonal thing to teach them that. But I feel like, is it the librarians are doing here? That's what you are talking about? Is this program is done by the librarians, or you have instructors coming in and doing it?
in this case, I'm the one doing it, and I'm our collections manager at my library. So I mean, I have like consulted with other people.
Okay.
Like I have like an unofficial chef consultant that I talk to sometimes about, like one of my friends. I'm like, hey, what about this? And then if I'm trying a recipe, he'll be like, yeah, okay, no, that's terrible. No, don't do that. It's
Okay.
complicated.
But this is how most of the library does? The programming librarian will do it?
I mean, I'll let other people speak as well, but I think it depends on the budget. I'm doing it because I like it. I don't other people.
Okay, it's a passion. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
it.
other people don't like to cook, or they don't have the money to pay somebody else. So I'm like, I'll do it. I like doing this. Sure, why not?
Excellent. That's a good idea, because now it gave me a thought. I never thought about that. Maybe I can do something, because we never did anything physically in the library. There's few obstacles are there, as you all know, the place, the cooking, the kitchen. So anything you have to do, try to do it oven free. Is that really applicable, or you're doing actual cooking?
I'm doing actual cooking. This is Donna Wolf from Lawrence Library.
Okay.
And we've done everything you've talked about. In fact, I did, to my detriment, I did mug cakes today, and they were terrible. I don't know what we did wrong, but we microwaved them, and we got one kit from oh shoot, I can't think of the brand name now, but the one that came all together already and all you had to do was water was good, but the rest of them were just terrible. But it was fun because I've won several cooking contests, so they know I'm qualified. And yet, before we started, I told them I have no idea how this is going to go. And we all agreed, a disaster. But it was kind of fun at being a disaster, and everybody trying and doing things. So anyway, but we've done all the things you talk about. I only pay $50 for a chef to come in, and they're usually willing to do it for the publicity. We do have, I think if you do it on a Monday or Tuesday also, you're probably going to get a chef to come in. But we've had quite a few different people. One of our most popular ones is we have a woman, and she may come to your libraries if they're close. She has, her company is called 4 Peas and a Dog. She has 4 kids, and you can look her up online, and she comes in and she sets up places for 24 people to decorate 2 Christmas cookies. But she each place has 8 or 9 different kinds of icing. And she teaches you how to cut the barest minimum off the tip of the icing bag and how to put a line around where the icing is going to go and then flood it in so it's perfect. She's just great, and she's always very popular. So 4 peas and a dog, I recommend her highly.
Okay, cool. Okay. But do you have an assigned place? I'm sorry, I'm taking too much questions. Is it okay, Darby?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay. I was not sure if you're like, because I just jumped in and started asking questions. Sorry. My question is, do you have an assigned place in your library where you do this kind of cooking things, or you just, because we use same place for everything.
Yeah,
So we have to you do too. Okay.
We
So you
do
have to
too.
dismantle and then set up
Oh,
again.
yeah. I have all, and what's really fun is once you start doing this, I've been doing this, I guess, for 12 years now. Once you start doing it, people start giving you equipment. Like, I can't use this air fryer, you take it. And, so I have a whole shelf, 5 shelves high of stuff people have given us. So we've done
Wow.
rice cookers, we are going to do, the problem with air fryers is they're so boring. I mean, all people make in their air fryers are tater tots, and it's really hard to get something interesting going in an air fryer. One of my people today told me she does her pork chops in there in 20 minutes. So do you do that too? We may try that, but
I
I
make everything in my air fryer. You need air fryer recipes, you let me know.
I do.
You
Yeah,
can
we have
Absolutely.
books.
you can bake stuff in your air
I
fryer.
know. I have 4 books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what comes out great in the air fryer? This is
What?
a whole separate conversation. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm just an air
No,
fryer
no,
fan.
it's giving people ideas. What?
Pillsbury dough, like the crescent roll, anything
Mhm.
that you want to make, like it goes great in the air fryer. And now I think they even have the instructions on the back of the tube for how to make it in the air fryer. And then if you want to like stuff it with different like
Wow, that's
jams or
great.
cheeses or whatever, it
Mm.
comes out great in the air fryer.
I
So
will definitely check that out. I have 4 air fryer books. So, it's not that I don't have I just, when I talk to people about how they really use their air fryer, Darby, you're the first person who has said she uses it a lot.
oh my God, I use it all the time, but I have little kids, so I just find it, yes, as Jennifer said, isn't an air fryer basically a tiny convection oven? It basically is a tiny convection oven, so it cooks really fast, and I don't have to heat the whole oven up and heat the
Yeah.
whole house up, and I love it. I use it constantly. Um,
Okay, great.
you reach out to me, we'll come up with an air fryer list.
Okay, thanks.
Don't you
Sounds
worry.
good.
How
I'm
big
gonna,
is that air fryer? I mean, what is the size? Is it a big one?
I mean, the one I have at home is just a normal countertop kind of. I don't know how many
No.
quarts it is, but I can fit um like if I do pork chops, I have done pork chops in it. Like I can fit all 4 pork chops in there for my family
Oh,
for dinner. But I do know they make the big ones with
yeah.
like multiple racks and layers and stuff. I don't have all that. Um,
Okay. I thought you have
so
one of those.
yeah, I have just a standard one.
Simple. Okay, well, got it. I have something like that. Great.
Marie again. So I usually every month I do a book and craft for the adult program. And last summer I tried a mocktail, and we did 4 different mocktails from like one of the books that we got, and that was a hit. And then we also did a cookie exchange in December. Everyone bought 2 dozen cookies, and they all tested them out, and they shared recipes. So that was a free event because everyone just bought their own stuff. And then the mocktail wasn't that expensive either. So I did 4 different drinks, and everybody got a taste of it. So that was fun.
that's good.
Caitlin makes a really solid point in the chat, which is to know your safety procedures and what to do in case of a fire and how to put out different types of fire, especially if you're really going to be
Yeah.
cooking. Nicole, I don't know if you guys do, I'm assuming if you're doing like an actual kitchen, you probably have the fire extinguisher and all that stuff ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. And then we've definitely talked about, you know, like doing different programs and like when we're outside, like what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like having people nearby with like a fire extinguisher, like what, you know, like precautions in place when you do things outside. For those of you who have not been to the Hoboken Public Library, we have a park right across the street. So we do a lot of events outside when it gets not to be 30 degrees like today. So it's an interesting thing. But yeah, it's like there's always plenty of things to keep in mind with safety for sure.
How do you pre-plan? Because if the weather, if this, and how much actually was in your mind, people will come, how many people will actually attend? Or do you get lots of response?
For programs in general or for
yeah,
outside programs?
outside programs and yeah.
So for outside programs, we usually do them like a couple times a year, just because of availability of the park and also because of, you know, staffing availability and my own availability. For programs inside, I usually limit them to about 10 to 15 people because I can only do so many ingredients and so much, you know, money per month for my budget. So I usually cap it at that. And then if, you know, people don't show up and people wander in, I don't like I said before, I don't turn them away. I'm like, come on in, make a cookie or Irish soda bread.
Thank you.
We have just about 5 minutes left. So if there's anything anybody was hoping to talk about or share that we didn't get to, now would be the time.
I'm just throwing my email in the chat again in case anybody wants to ask me any questions afterwards. Like again, it's like I've done a lot of things. Sorry.
The electricity is a thing. I put out all the lights at the Christmas party by not having the right, yeah, really, no kidding, by not having the right plug with the right amount of, I don't know, juice. I have a special extension cord because most of these electric appliances don't have a long cord on them. So I have a very special extension cord that has breakers in it and different stuff so that I don't do that again.
Yes, that is a good point. You can get the type of extension cord that has the breaker in it so that if you do trip the electricity, it will cut off there and not affect the rest of your library.
And it can also handle a higher frequency
Yeah.
of something. I'm not technical that way, but it does work.
This was really a lovely chat. Jennifer says cooking programs would be a great theme for a poster at NJLA.
Oh, fun. Good idea.
Yeah, I actually did a presentation on this last year at NJLA. I don't know if anybody was at NJLA last year, but yeah, I did a short presentation about this last year. But I'm always happy to talk about this because so many people are interested and they're just like scared to start. And again, just try.
Yeah.
There's one, it looks like one last question in the chat. Carissa says, to echo Laura's question, which I think was about like liability and waivers, and to what extent are we liable if will people bring in food and other people eat it? Am I responsible if somebody brings in scones with arsenic?
I'm not as familiar with, sorry, Darby, go ahead.
Go ahead. Nope.
I know I'm like not as familiar because like I don't let people bring in like their own ingredients and food from outside. Like I bring in everything. So I don't, other people can probably answer that a little bit better than I can.
Yeah, I mean, I think that your best bet is probably to just, if you're gonna plan something like that, talk it out with maybe your director or your board, or if your library has a lawyer. I mean, if you're really concerned about it, it's worth asking the question. Because I don't think anybody here is qualified to officially say, that you wouldn't be liable. I don't know. My common sense would say people are adults. And so they would know people are bringing that in from outside and they're choosing to eat it. So my feeling would be, as long as you kind of advertise that this wasn't made here in the library, this was made in someone's home, and kind of like eat at your own risk. But again, I am not a lawyer, so that would be a good question for those. Oh, you are the director, Sai. So sorry then. I don't know.
We just made for our cookie exchange, we we just told everyone to please put every ingredient in there and how it's made, and that's how the swapping happened. Like it was only adults only, so they knew what they were getting themselves into, and they knew whoever was allergic to whatever knew that this contains nuts. This could, you know, it was very organized, and it had everything that was listed in the thing, and it turned out to be great. It was, if anything, we made the paper.
Carissa, a good option might be to actually go to either NJLA admin and management. I mean, if this is something you're thinking about doing and you're curious about it, either go to an NJLA admin and management meeting or come to one of our Mentor NJ. We have a Adventures in Administration meetup twice a month. And a lot of times those folks have really great answers. It's usually directors. You know, if you wanted to kind of get their opinion on how they handle these things in their libraries. And a lot of people are just sharing about tools and utensils. Nicole, I don't know if you want to chime in about sort of like how many, when you do in person, do you have a set of tools and utensils for everyone?
Yeah, so what I was saying was that there's certain things that like we use a lot, like cutting boards that we have a lot of, but there's certain things that I'm like, as much as people think they're going to need all the ingredients and all the tools at the same time, they really don't. You know, you're like, you can only hold so many things, you can only measure so many things. Like you have a bowl, but it's like you don't need to be having like a knife and a measuring cup and a spoon and a whisk at the same time. So people can share. But sometimes, yeah, it's just having like 2 sets of something is enough, or like having like 5 of something, even if you're having like 10 people, is enough, because people can't, they only have 2 hands. And then the other thing I was saying was that people can sometimes donate things. Like people just randomly, like, you know, I think who was saying that, you know, people just sometimes give you stuff. Like, yeah, people give me stuff like, here, take this. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So, you know, donations are your friend too.
Darby, I also want to add, Nicole just reminded me, one of my most popular classes is the creme brulee class. And I have individual creme brulee bottoms done for everybody. And then they all get to use the blowtorch and do their own. Of course, you can do it under a broiler in your oven, but they all love the blowtorch part. So
I'm coming to your library.
Oh, thank you. Blowtorches are only $25 in at Home Depot. They're $65 at Williams-Sonoma. So don't do like I did and buy a $65 blowtorch. But you'd be surprised how many people have a blowtorch if you ask other librarians to bring them in for one day. Anyway, that was a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Steph. We're taking a library link trip up to Robin's library for a creme brulee, I think, soon.
Thanks. I'd love to have you.
Maybe we need to write the LibraryLinkNJ cookbook.
Yeah.
To go by everybody's library and eat all their delicious food from
That would be a great idea.
Be a great
That would be a great
fundraiser.
idea.
We can all put our favorite recipes in.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing idea. I'm on board for that.
All right. Consider it on my to-do list. So it is officially 3 o'clock. Thank you all so much for all your thoughtful comments and questions, and especially, of course, thank you to Nicole, who was very thorough in your explanation of all the different cooking programs that you're doing. I think you gave everybody a lot to think about. You all will hear from Stephanie with a follow-up email. I'm not sure when, within the next week. I don't want to speak for her, but pretty soon. And we'll share, maybe Nicole, if it's okay to share some of your the slides that you made. And we'll have a survey that you all can fill out early next week, Stephanie says, with the recording and the slides. Yep. And if you have any suggestions for skill sharing conversations, definitely do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are always looking for topics. So if there's anything that you want to see or that you want to present, we would love to think about it, to hear about it. And I think that is it for us. Everybody have a great afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the wonderful session.
Thank you.